Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 350 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Franzgrote from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc.
Today's topic is how to create a life you're excited to wake up to. You've worked hard, followed all the right steps, but you still feel unfulfilled. Why does success feel so empty? And how can you change that? That is what our guest is about today. Andrew Dewar, the co-founder of 5-Year You, is a former certified professional accountant turned certified advanced energy healer, dedicated to helping individuals shift from living life by accident to living with purpose. After achieving financial freedom, paying off his mortgage in just 6 years, Andrew realized true fulfillment comes from transformation, not just numbers. Having faced and overcome personal traumas, he now guides others through profound midlife shifts, offering the tools and insights to rewrite their stories. Through the 5-Year You and his podcast of the same name, his mission is to empower 1 million people to become the best version of themselves in 5 years. Andrew, appreciate you coming in. Welcome. Give a favorite quote or saying, sir.
You've worked too hard to be unhappy, and I think we can all relate to that around midlife.
Do you have a tagline that you work with for your business?
Yeah, we help unfulfilled professionals find purpose and clarity so they can create a life they love.
So why do professionals feel like they're getting stuck? What is it? Obviously, we're talking midlife. What is it that all of a sudden smacks them in the forehead and says, I'm not happy?
It's different for everybody, but I always like to look at it like this. When you're born, you figure out pretty quickly, I got to keep my parents, my caregivers happy if I want to be fed, if I want to have all the things that I want. There's a system, and we figure out how to do that. Keep mom and dad happy in most cases, and I'll be clothed, fed, and sheltered. We go to school and figure out this system as well, get good grades, make the team to get the girl, make the squad to get the boy, all the things like that. There's a system in place. And we all learn it in our own way, whether it's where do I fit in or whatever. But school also gives us a framework on how we are expected to live for the decade plus. And then we go to university, and it's the same thing again. I got to get good grades. I got to find my specialty. I got to do all these things. And you get out into the real world, and the quote unquote North American dream is get a spouse and kids, get the big house, get the bigger mortgage, get the cars, the 2.5 TVs and all the things, and then you'll be happy. And that's great until you get all those things. You get to the middle of life and you're like, okay, where's the happy? And that's where we find a lot of people are ending up roughly midlife, where they go, okay, I've been following everybody else's plan with this kind of promise that life is going to be a certain way, and it's not ending up like that. And that's because they've never really looked at things and decided what they want, what is right for them. They've just been following the plan that the people before them gave them. So with 5-Year You, we get into that quite a bit.
I love the name 5-Year You. That is so huge.
Thank you.
Is there a way to do this without buying a Corvette, leaving your wife, and becoming an alcoholic?
Yes. It was emotional if I had said no. Yes, there is. I think there comes a point in our lives where midlife, we come at things and we're like, there needs to be a new kind of school for each individual person. I think we all feel unfulfilled at some point because maybe we started doing the job that wasn't right for us because mom and dad thought it was the right thing, or we knew it was going to make a lot of money, or somebody else said, hey, why don't you go try accounting? And you said, okay, I got nothing else to do. Why not give that a try? Don't do that, by the way. If you're listening to this, do not do that. Personal experience, folks. And you get to that middle age point and you start going, what is it all about? And where do I want to go? It doesn't have to be a midlife crisis. It's a midlife awakening. And that's when you get to truly discover who you are and how you want to live life. You get to create things on your own terms. It's just most of us don't take the time to do it. And most of us don't give ourselves permission to do it. So that's what Weird does. We have techniques and processes to help you discover what you are all about and how to start living more like yourself, probably for the first time in your whole life.
You speak of purpose, and it's good to have purpose. How do you pick the right purpose? I want to be a ballerina, and I look at my physique. There's no way you're going to become a ballerina. Now, could I get at it? Potentially, yes. Would I want to? Nah. but I already in my whole headspace, right? It was an absolute goal, yes, but it's not. So how do you find that right purpose? Because when you're 20 something, you might have that ability to become that or become whatever you wanted to do, but was it the right purpose?
I think when we talk about purpose, we get in our heads quite a bit. And I think I'm in my 40s now, so my chances of being drafted into the NHL are slim and none. So I have to look at things a little differently. When we talk about purpose and you want to be a ballerina or a hockey player, the question is, why do you want that? Is it because you enjoy dancing? Is it because you enjoy creative expression? Is it because you love wearing tights? It really does depend on what that feeling is that you're looking for in it. Most of us are chasing feelings and we don't recognize it in our lives. So when we get to the purpose part, which is our fundamental start, we start looking at things to go, okay, I want to be a ballerina, but I don't really actually want to be on stage. And I don't really want to dance. I just want to be fluid. I just want to feel like I can flow through my days. And that's the feeling that I'm trying to capture in my life. And that's the only way I've ever felt that is when I took a ballet class when I was 6 years old. And that's the first time I came alive. So how do we bring more fluidity into your life? How do we bring this purpose that you're discovering at your core essence and bring it into your day on a ongoing basis rather than putting it as a one day or I could never do that? It's different for everybody, and that's the beauty of it. But there's a million ways to fulfill your purpose. Yes, making the Russian ballet in your 50s is probably not the easiest thing to do, but that might not actually be what you want to do. It's that feeling and the contribution you wake up to every day that's really more important.
Andrew, do you find that you got soul in that? I really like it. Do you find that some people push back? They think you're trying to turn them into a cult?
No, I've never had that, but that's sorry. I thought that was really funny. No, in the middle of life, we start to ask ourselves, what's this all about for me? And every one of us will have a different answer for that. For some people, they're not going to dive into beyond the, no, we're just here and that's it. For other people, it becomes a matter of contribution and what legacy am I leaving for myself, for those around me? How do I want to be remembered? How do I want to spend the rest of my days feeling like I matter to myself? So when we talk about soul and purpose, those are the fundamental first steps of just giving yourself permission to look at yourself and go, I always wanted to be this thing and I always enjoyed this. And I put it on hold for the sake of money, for the sake of the plan. And now I want to touch that again. I want to get back into that. I want to feel more like me than I ever have. But no, I've never got the cult question. That's cool. I've never taken it that way. But yeah, definitely not trying to do a cult thing.
He's not offering you Kool-Aid, so you're safe. Would you say then all the midlife crisis is a certain generation, but all the generations that coming along will eventually come up to that window in time in their life?
Yeah.
Is that something that doesn't matter where you're in the globe? There are people I've talked to, and watch what's happening in the social dynamics. And it's the same thing. It doesn't matter whether you're from a country that speaks no English, different skin color, totally different culture, totally different religion. But you know what? Certain things are true between people. They just hold very true on a normal day-to-day thing. Would that also be the same as people age into that pocket, whether you're Generation X, baby boomer, or Generation A, or whatever the new generation is going to be called? At the end of the day, I'm not worried. Each has their own flavor to things, right?
Yeah. When it comes to, do you age into this? I don't know if it's so much aging as it is recognizing that you may have not been living for yourself. Some people do, and they're probably not going to resonate with this, but when you are looking to create a life you're excited to wake up to, it's because you haven't been. And when you haven't been, there is something missing. And typically that thing missing from your life is you. You might have that awakening in university and change things around. You might have it in your 80s and not know what way to go with it. But it's never too late to start honoring yourself. It's a really important part of your life journey.
According to Monty Python, one gentleman wanted to go from accounting into lion taming, and it didn't go well.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking about that same episode earlier this week. As a former accountant, I get such a hoot out of it. Here's a guy wanting excitement. He thinks he wants to be a lion tamer. Do you like lions? No. Do you like cats? No. Maybe actuarial sciences is what I want. That's where the action's at. Like, he gets down to I don't actually want to be in a life-threatening situation. I just want a little more thrills in my life, and I can do that by, I think it's like statistician or actuarial science or something like that. What a great skit, though.
It was a great skip. You had a way to get off the hamster wheel, and you took it. Tell me about that.
For me, in the middle of my life, I had done everything that everybody told me to do. And I was sitting around for years, in fact, looking around going, is this it? And I would bring it up with my friends and my neighbors, and everybody just gave me a look at the time. What are you talking about? This is it. You get up, you go to work, you pay your bills, you go home, you have a drink on the weekend, and that's it. And I kept going, but I'm feeling something else here. I'm feeling called to the next chapter for some sort of new version of myself. And that was really hard because when you are around everybody else that is colorblind and you're pointing at a rainbow going, wow, look at all these colors. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's just a gray arc in the sky. We see gray arcs in the sky all the time. And you're like, no, there's red and blue. And I'm like, no, it's just gray. When you start having that, you realize you're outgrowing your situation. Often there's a resistance in the beginning because you look at it and you're like, I've got everything the way I always said I was going to have it. Then you start looking at things differently and you go, okay, I'm going to lean into this journey a little bit and see what happens. And the second I started leaning into it is when all these synchronicities started to happen. Every time I've gotten past that initial fear of, is this the right choice? The right things start showing up. I went from being an accountant that had no clue what energy healing was. I went and did EMDR to deal with some personal trauma. I couldn't believe the shift that happened in a single hour session. Then somebody said, you should try Reiki. I went to Reiki and the lady said to me, I'll never forget this. First session, I don't buy into any of this stuff at this moment. The EMDR, the eye movement desensitization reprogramming, worked really well. So let's just see what the next thing is. I go to Reiki and she's, your sacral chakra is in a cage. And I'm like, I don't understand these words at all. And she just said, just know that you might feel a little tired. You might need to rest. And I just kind of smile. And this is Saturday morning. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. I went home and slept until Monday morning. Like, it literally knocked me out for 48 hours. Like, it was wild. And then you start going, okay, maybe there's got to be something to this. And my logical accountant brain is going, what the heck? This doesn't make any sense. You keep walking down the path. And then I went to a theta healer and she's, what do you want to work on? I'm like, I have no idea why I'm here. People just keep telling me to go places and I go and people say, go try this. And I go, okay, I'll go try this. So I tried theta healing. She says, what do you want to work on? I'm like, I don't know. I should feel abundant. I don't. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have what everybody says you should have, but I don't feel abundant. So we worked on that. And then a few months later, I won a trip to anywhere in the world. I couldn't win a one-person raffle. That's how unlucky I was with this stuff. And here I find myself doing all these things that I would never have imagined doing, but the next step just kept coming. That's what happens when you start to lean into this change. When you go, I don't know how it's going to go. That's okay. But I am going to take the first step. And then I'm sure after I take that first step, the next one's going to show up. And you just keep walking that path. And then suddenly I'm in a place and they're offering advanced energy healing. I'm just having to walk into this place on my birthday. It's the last time they are offering it. So I'll take it and move forward with it. I could not have created this even if I had tried my hardest. Sometimes you just got to go, you know what? There's a different calling for me and I'm going to take the first steps.
Have you been able to go from the very left brain, everything was a system, everything's wow. Did you find a way back to the middle or was it all a one-way trip?
I've always been balanced brained. I never fit in with the jocks, but I played all the sports. I never fit in with the brains because I was sporty. So I just had this balanced brain and I would play and write songs, sing guitar, playing places as a kid. I would be on the hockey teams. I would be really high in maths and whatnot. So it was this weird thing where I had a lot of interests. Once I got my brain out of the logical part of this and just leaned into it, it was easier. And I do find that on a moment-to-moment basis, I will vacillate between the creative and the logical quite a bit. And it's really nice to have that, especially when you're working with people, because you're able to give a bit of a different dynamic. Because I think logical people really appeal to logical people. And we're a little afraid of that woo part, that part that's ethereal, that we can't see, touch, or we just it's not tangible. And yet at the same time, that is something that we don't have to quite understand to make use of. I just look at it. You can close your eyes and you can feel somebody's presence in front of you, whether you know they're there or not. And that person, you can feel maybe it's their body heat or it's just their energy. We've all had moments like that. It's just a matter of how you want to lean into it.
If you're out in the bush and you feel eyes on you, that's more another issue. The hair on your back going up.
Exactly.
You have 5 key layers of life. Can you walk us through what that means and how does it correlate to an entrepreneur?
So maybe what I'll do is I'll give an overview of the layers and then we'll walk an entrepreneur through it.
Sure.
So if you want to visualize the layers of life, it's like a target sign with the center being your soul, your purpose. Most of us live on that outer rim of life called significance. It's like, what do I have to get? Who do I have to be the person that people like? What do I have to buy, own, go places to go so I get accolades and stuff like that? Most of us, and myself included, live in that world, and it's very superficial because you're always looking for the next thing. You get the new car, everybody fawns over your new car, and then you've got 9 years to pay it off, and you're like, nobody really cares about my new car in week 2. So why did I do this? Whereas when you start with your soul and you know what your purpose is, now my purpose is to entertain, uplift, and inspire. When I'm doing that, I know I'm in my zone. Now, from that, we go out to the self. The self is the second layer, and it's all about you. And that encompasses the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and the emotional. We get you to get really clear on how you want to be on those. Most of us live life by accident. We don't have that purpose. We're going through things going, geez, I'm always mad at the end of the day, but I don't know why, and I don't really care, and I'm going to have a beer and numb myself, and then I'll get up and do the same thing tomorrow, and that's going to be my pattern. So with self, we really get you to look at all these areas and go, how do you actually want to show up? What's your intention with this? The social is the people in your life and how you want to show up with your friends, your family, your community, and how intimate you want to be with yourself and all of those people. Because some people are very much at a level 1 with intimacy, where it's just, you just want to nod at people. You don't want to let people in. That's not where you're at in life. And other people want to have the depth. They're like, I want to know why Bernie is Bernie and what's holding Bernie back and how I can help Bernie move forward. And I want to know everything about Wayne. I just want to have significantly great friends. This is how I want my friendships to be. So when you get done with your social, then you get to substance. And substance is really about how you're spending your days, your time. And that involves your financial, your recreational, your occupation, and it's just really about starting with how do you want to live that life in a way that makes sense to you. Most of us do it the other way around. We go, I need a lot of money, so I need a job that pays me a lot of money. And when you ask them why, they're like, because I need a lot of money. But they never really think, I like doing really cheap things, quite frankly, and I don't need millions of dollars to do that. So the idea of climbing the corporate ladder for 30 years to get to a place where I can just come home and do my puzzles doesn't make sense when I can incorporate that into my days. So that's where the substance comes in. And then significance is that outer layer of being, it's about that outer layer of like recognition, accomplishments, how you want to look, and just like how your appearance and how you want to be known in this world based on your purpose, not what you think everybody else wants you to look like and be. So with that, if we take an entrepreneur who has been building homes for 20 years and they like it, but they are done with it, we would start with them and go, what is it that you really want? What is your purpose with this? And they'll say, I really love the creative process. I love designing the homes. I love getting the one-on-ones with the clients and designing custom homes. And somehow along the way, I became the person that did everything else but this one thing. And that happens a lot with people. They'll be like, I used to love this thing. And then for some reason in the idea of building this multi-million-dollar business, I got taken away from it. So we start to work with them on their soul and their purpose. If you're middle-aged and you're like, I want to go play tennis with my teenage kids, and I know in 10 years that I'm going to be a grandparent and I want to be able to get on the ground and do all this stuff, that's yourself. That's how you want to show up physically. Are you doing the things that are going to matter with that? Are you doing the things now Waiting until your grandkid's born to decide to get healthy is a lot harder to do if you start right now and start doing the little things that are going to add up to a big difference later on. And so when we're looking at that entrepreneur, that business owner who feels disconnected, the first thing we always do is get back to the basics of why did you start doing this? And the answers can range. I worked with a popular YouTuber who, by every metric, had everything you could ever ask for. Within 20 minutes of talking, we were able to discover why he was actually doing this, why he had fallen off, and how to get him back on track. And it went from falling apart to it didn't really matter about the views. It didn't really matter about the finances anymore to him because the stuff was set up in this case. But for him, it was contribution. It was knowing that he was mattering in life. You need to sometimes talk through that with another person to see it. And that's where my partner and I make a really good impact on people's lives.
If I could jump in for a second, one thing that my own personal hobby horse is people are trapped by unauthentic goals. They're their parents, they're the 7th grade gym teacher, possibly a spouse, or even worse, an ex-spouse. How do you bring them back to authentic goals?
There's a lot of ways. Conversation and discovery is usually the biggest thing. My partner, Catherine, and I, when we do 2-on-1 sessions, if you come meet with us, it's both of us. Sometimes things will just show up intuitively as we're conversing. And that's really what we're looking for. It's normal for us to want to please our parents and the authority figures that we've had in our life, whether that's a spouse, a teacher, boss. That is a survival mechanism. But at some point, we have to acknowledge that we don't always just want to survive. We want to thrive. We want to feel good in our bodies. We want to wake up with enthusiasm every day and go, yes, I have a flu today, but I get to do a podcast and I am going to bring it like I had never brought it before because I love this part of my life. So to me, that's really where it all goes is like, when did you start feeling good about your life? When were you excited to wake up? Does owning an electric car excite you? Does that get you up out of bed every day? Or is it the idea of helping this family achieve financial independence or build a home? Is that the thing that motivates you? And I think that's what a lot of us forget as the money starts to come in and we have these obligations. It's really about unraveling a lot of the stuff we've put on top of us that we never really needed in the first place.
So tell me, what are the steps that if there's just that ache in an entrepreneur's mind and he hasn't even articulated, just he has some general disconnect, what are the steps that you can get him from stuck to living on purpose?
It'll depend on each person. When we're talking with people as far as getting unstuck, it really does begin with awareness and clarity. We have a guided meditation that people can get. It's on our YouTube channel, but you can also get it at 5yearyou.com/future, where you meet your future self and use your future self to get the information that you need. And it's quite an interesting experience. Our clients use it every day for different problems. It's been really fascinating. I think a lot of times the answers are inside of us. But when you're feeling stuck, when you are getting up, hating your life, wondering why you're doing it, those aren't normal things. They're normal in the sense that a lot of people feel them, but they aren't normal in the sense that is how it has to be. You get to choose. And so getting unstuck means that you get that clarity on who you are, what lights you up on the inside, not what lights your kids up, your spouse, your business partners, or anything else. Immediately finding a way to start bring some of that into your day on a daily basis, because I can guarantee you, if you are feeling no excitement for the day, you're likely not doing that in any way, shape, or form.
You've touched on a couple different things here. Meditation, relaxing, calming down might be a good way to define it. It may not be adequately defining it in the way I've just described it. But at the same time, you paid off a mortgage, which means now that's a very fixed goal. How do you bring that calming your brain down, stay on target to a goal? One is very accounting and prudent. Nothing wrong with it. The other one is not, I'm not spun up and I'm not going at it with the anxiety of a quote unquote Karen.
I get what you're saying. Like, one of these is very much goal oriented. I wanted to make sure I've got clarity on this question, but it's basically, how do you run towards a goal without feeling like you're going to kill yourself in the run?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're running towards something, there are a lot of different paces you can do. You can walk, you can jog, you can full out sprint. And you might need to do those at different points in the journey because it's a lengthy journey. When you're paying off a mortgage, I did it as a matter of safety. I talked to people around me. Nobody was doing it. I'm starting to realize that's your first sign that you might be onto something. And then as you start to move forward, you just take it one step at a time. You don't have to go crazy over going towards it. It's just a matter of taking the steps as you go towards it.
Have there been authors or mentors or teachers that have helped you on your journey?
As far as big names, one of the books I first read 15 years ago was Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That was the first money book that wasn't a money accountant, left brain type of approach. It was more of a, this is the way rich people look at things. They think of things differently. And that kind of was enough to start shifting my brain of going, it's not all about the spreadsheet. There's thoughts behind things and there's approaches and mindsets and things like that. From there, Jack Canfield's Success Principles was a huge factor on my life. I love that book. I read it many times. So the idea of 5-Year You was when I was like, I've had multiple websites and businesses over the years, and they've done well. And as SEO and stuff was changed in the last couple of years, I thought to my partner and I said, what is the one thing that we love to do that we could just keep doing no matter what? Like whether it makes $10 or $10 billion, what's the one thing that we love? I'm like, I love personal growth. I love learning techniques. And I said, the thing I always wanted to do was, I think there's 2 paragraphs in that book where it talks about having like come as your future self party, where you go to a one night thing and you pretend to be who you are in the future. So he talked about people retiring on a beach. So they show up with a beach outfit. Other people are stockbrokers. So they're yelling into their phones. Some people are billionaires and they give scratch tickets to everybody. What got me thinking about it was that I wanted to create something where people could get into that vibration of their future selves, because it's a very different vibration of who you are right now, especially when you're stuck. When you start to get into that feeling of how you are, especially for an extended amount of time, like a 5-day retreat, you are able to break old patterns of who you are and start to create new ones. Then I started thinking we also need reintegration, because everybody's gone to a conference, felt amazing, got back home and realized that all your friends, family, and everybody else did not go to this conference, and you come back and that reintegration happens, and it's like you almost get pushed back down. My thought was we need to create community around it so that people can be around those people on an ongoing basis, like having a new friend group, basically, that goes, no, you are 5-year Wayne, and 5-year Wayne does not go out to do the same thing that that present Wayne used to do. And it's okay for you to change, but sometimes we need that because we are breaking very ingrained habits, not just for ourselves, but for a lot of other people. That was it. But yeah, those 2 books are always the ones I love to cite. I also love Think and Grow Rich, of course, but I read about 50 different personal growth development books a year. I've got a lot of resources that I can cite, but those are always my top 3.
Somebody bullied you into meeting Andrew, and you go, okay, I need help. You lay it out, and they listen to you and your wife, and it makes sense. The scales come off their eyes, and they're excited, and they're going to change, and they put action statements. How do you deal with 2 weeks from now, that integration? How do you take them, push them back into reintegrating in their real life or their new life? That's what I find that dip scary.
It is a scary dip. And I could tell in your voice that you've gone through that dip before. So it really is a challenge. What we do is when you sign up for coaching with us, we do what we call the 5 weeks of future you, which is going through all those layers of life and finding out where you want to work on immediately. And then we do a year's worth of coaching. And through that, you get constant contact with us. We found that to be very beneficial for people because they're able to have that safe place to turn to where they may not have that kind of situation at work or at home. And people are going to need that support. And that's really what I love to give, is that ongoing support of You got this. It's okay. You can change as fast or as slow as you want to. It doesn't have to mean burning the bridges. Sometimes it's just adding another lane to the bridge. You get to decide.
You realize you have to change path. You start working the path. How do you maintain, what things do you go through in a regular cycle, whether it's daily, every 2 days? If you're doing weight training, for example, you might do 2 days on, a day off, that the muscles would grow, right? So there's a pattern. What is the best way for people once they found their purpose and stay on course and stay engaged?
There's a lot of little things you can do. Reaffirming your goals every morning and night, finding those little things that reinforce who you want to be. Let's just say you want to have more gratitude in your life because you realize that gratitude makes you happier and it's a different vibration than the ain't it awful kind of club. When you start doing that, it's going to feel unnatural. That's the honest truth. You are creating a brand new baby Wayne, and you need to nurture that baby like it's day one. When you start to constantly nurture yourself on a day-to-day basis, you get stronger with it. I think the idea of coming out of any type of thing for myself, it's never resonated with me. But to get to that place where you go and you're an entrepreneur and you go through like a weekend retreat or coaching, you walk in, you're like, okay, we're no longer building houses. We are gardeners. We are doing gardens now. And you have no infrastructure to do it. Some people might be able to do that, but most people shift. And as you shift, you bring in more of what you want and start to let go of the things that don't make sense. It's going to be different for everyone, but you need to nurture yourself, especially in that first year. If you want to use the gardening example, you've planted that new seed of you, and the seed is the most fragile in that first year. And so you're establishing the roots, you're getting the new stock. If you have the right protections in place, the right people around you to support the growth, then you're able to flourish faster. If you don't, people will stomp on it without even knowing that they're doing it. And that's a big danger for some people.
With that type of background, when you're doing a shift, what type of stability has to be in place? Is it financial stability? Is it social stability? Is it familial stability? Or can they be all in ruckus mode and then find the sweet spot? Is it independent? Or do one of the things around your life have to be straight and level, available, and there, a good touchstone?
I think it's best to have as much stability as you can have. We have seen people that have no stability when they show up and they don't know where to go next. They literally feel trapped in the lives that they've created for themselves. When we have those people show up, it really is important to show them that they don't have to quit their job. They don't have to start a new business. They don't have to be so extreme in their decisions. A lot of times we all look at the switch that it's an on or off, and it's really a dimmer switch. You can dim one light while you turn the next one on, and that is really important because having that stability is necessary, and it's going to be different. Stability is different for everybody. Some people do very well with, they don't need spousal support or familial support or friend support. Other people, those are really important things. We have to talk about how you're going to employ those in your life, whether that is a new set of friends or acknowledging that those friends may inadvertently be holding you back in your safe zone. A lot of times when we want to get out of that safe zone, we're going to leave some of those people behind, not because we're saying you can't come, but because they look at where we're going and go, this doesn't feel right for me. I'm going to stay put. We see it in movies. We see it with any kind of growth. Not everybody's going to be in your life forever. It's unfortunate, but it's freeing when you know that, so you can enjoy being with those people while you have the time with them.
Do you end up actually having a meeting where the spouse comes to the meeting?
We can work with spouses. It is really important that each spouse does their own 5-year version of themselves. Otherwise, they do the groupthink thing and it's, do you want that? I've always wanted to do this. They need to work independently before they come back together and have a united front. Otherwise, they fall back into the trap that they've always been in, which is living for somebody else. And we don't want that. We want them to be able to see what they want their lives to look like.
So here's an obvious question. When I'm talking to 5-year you, what does 5-year Andrew look like in 5 years?
He looks younger.
So Our mental memories work that way, apparently.
Oh, really? 5-Year Andrew is a published author. He gives speeches around the world. He has a thriving business where he works with small groups, helping people discover their purpose and grow into the people they're meant to be. He's still a dad and he enjoys life. He gets up every morning excited for another day. I am happy, I am calm, and I know I am making a difference in the lives of those people that I come across.
Usually, as we trek along, we notice this maybe as kids, and then something goes sideways. Say you're doing sports and you do a certain activity and fumble the ball, so to speak. Or you go to send an email and later on you looked at the email. I should have proofread. When you say hello and you forgot the O in hello,
Yeah.
It's a whole different message.
It really is.
It really is. And you're looking at it afterwards. I had a call and go, oh, look at that. You sure you want to talk about? Wait, what are you talking about? We're saying it to some volunteers. And I went, yeah, no, that was not the intent. Nope. How do you approach fail points when you cross them or your clients cross them?
Fail points I look at them very differently, I think, than most people. I look at fail points as they still suck, but they are necessary growth steps that you have to take. That's something you need to learn to proofread your emails before you go. And yeah, was it a mistake? Yeah. Was it funny? Yeah, a little bit. Did you wish it didn't happen? Yeah. So you're going to do something as you go through it. You're not meant to get it all right, especially out of the gate. That would be boring. If you got everything right every time you did everything, I think that when you have these setbacks, when things go bad, when you have the bad breaks, a lot of times we have those breaks so that things can grow back stronger. And we have to learn from those.
So, people that you help, are they just located in continental U.S., North America? Are you a global thing?
We're global. We help people. I'm in Canada and my partner's in Chicago, and we help each other. We reach people all over the world. Basically, if you can speak English, we're willing to work with you. I used to be French immersion, but I'm not going to lean on that. And my Duolingo for Spanish is pretty bad so far. So I'm working on things, but I'm not quite there yet. So yeah, we help worldwide.
If your clients have had exposure to other languages, other cultures, either growing up because parents got moved around, whether they were in either a corporate company that was global or in the military or a government agency, has that always been helpful for some of your clients to keep things fresh and adaptable?
I think it gives you more life experience, and that can have its pros and cons. Sometimes people never feel quite settled because they've always been used to picking up and going. And for other people, it gives them that clarity of knowing exactly what they want because they've had that breadth of experience. They've been to the circus to know they don't want to be the lion tamer, and they've been able to just understand. I think like with anything, there is benefits to getting outside your own world. I love to travel. That is one of my love languages. And I just like to go new places, experience new things, because I never come back the same person. I could see with people that have traveled or lived in multiple places, it's hugely beneficial.
And so if it rings a bell, how do we get a hold of you?
You can reach me at andrew@5yearu.com. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. Mention that you heard the podcast and set up an initial call. The first call is purely discovery about what you're looking for, and we help you discover your purpose. So if nothing else, you walk away with it feeling, okay, I have a better idea of what I want in my life. I really am about trying to help as many people as possible. That initial free call is a great way to get your toe in the water to see how it feels.
I want to say thank you to Andrew Dewar, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. If this has resonated with you, if this is, hey, listen, I need to reframe my life, got to find that good purpose, because I'm parked and I'm feeling in a rut. It's a good way to keep your soul, brain, and health healthy. Reach out to Andrew.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motivateu.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter u.ca, or his website, motivateu.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people. Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert. Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host. Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space. Then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner, and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer, please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.